G'day gymnastics skill seekers. Welcome back to another one of my training vlogs. I think I'm up to 14 now, so slowly but surely they're growing, and thank you to all of those people that are watching and sending me feedback and stuff like that. It's great to hear from you and glad to hear that your own gymnastics sessions are going well. Today I'm going to talk about day number 3 in my training program. So the current phase is phase 2 of 2023, and it's a mix of my gymnastics flexibility and gymnastic strength goals. So the flexibility today is working on my front splits and working on my gymnastics bridge. And then the strength session today is working on an L-sit press to handstand, a German hang to ring support, and then a muscle up to forward roll. So let's get stuck in. So we're starting with my flexibility and we're starting with the front splits. So I've got a PNF hip flexor stretch. It's very similar to last phase, but now I'm trying to work on more thoracic extension while I'm in this stretch. So knee on a soft surface, foot against a wall, setting that posterior pelvic tilt, sinking down into that hip flexor stretch while holding a dumbbell and single arm overhead. And then just trying to sink down into that stretch at the same time, elevating the shoulder, pushing the weight up, and then trying to lift and lengthen through the spine, specifically the thoracic spine. Now, I've done arching in this stretch before, but there's sort of like a new sensation at the moment. I'm feeling that the shoulder is much stronger. I'm feeling that the shoulder is supporting the weight better, and I'm getting more extension because of that. Like in the past, I felt maybe a little bit uncomfortable in this position. The shoulder hasn't felt as strong. And I put that down to the pullover exercise maybe in the last phase. So building a little bit more range of motion and a little bit more strength in this sort of shoulder flexion position. Quite like this stretch. It's definitely a way to get deeper into the hip flexors. It also feels nice to be able to just sort of lengthen and arch that spine, that thoracic spine. So it's going quite well. Sometimes balance can be a bit of an issue here because I'm extending the cervical spine and looking up. I found that the position of the front foot, so taking that front foot out a little bit wider, and as you start to arch and look up, just making sure that front knee is pulled out to the side so that you've got a good base of support here, can offer a little bit of stability. So what I'm doing is a PNF stretch, so it's like contracting and lifting and holding for like 10 seconds and then just sort of coming out of it and then doing it again. 10 seconds coming out of it, 10 seconds coming out of it. So 3 lots of 10 seconds and then just like a 15, 20 second hold on that last repetition in that arch position. I'm feeling like it's making progress. It's week 3 right now. So just getting more comfortable with this one. And it's been supersetted with a long lunge hold. Now I did this in the last phase, so it's just continuation here, trying to work a little bit deeper in this. It's quite a deep stretch. I feel this in the hip flexor of the rear leg. So that hip extension position we're creating with that rear leg, especially when we're contracting that glute and really driving the heel of the rear foot backwards, trying to straighten that back leg as much as possible. And I also feel a stretch in the hamstring of the front leg, sort of high hamstring up between sort of the glute hamstring fold. And the hamstring on my right side's been a little bit sore there lately. So I've been sort of taking it easy with this stretch, not trying to push it too much, still getting a nice range of motion, but making sure I'm not putting too much pressure on that front hamstring. The more I extend that front knee, the deeper the stretch gets, or the more intense the stretch gets on that hamstring. I have found that like how I set up for this can make a difference. Again, that knee sort of needs to be sort of pulled out to the side. The front knee needs to be pulled out, but I can also sort of feel that like the pelvis is tilted forward and my belly's touching the thigh there, and it creates this little bit of a shelf or a little bit of support there. I'm definitely stronger, or it feels more stable when the left leg is forward, and on the right side it just takes me a little bit more to try to find that position. But when I find that position, I can sink deeper and I don't feel the same pressure on the hamstring. So it's just a matter of the setup and just paying attention to that as I get into that sort of long lunge position. You can hold on to a supportive surface here, so like an upright pole or have a stick in each hand, and it takes away a little bit of the balance element. I think holding onto the support will allow you to sink a little bit deeper here because you can take some of the weight, but I like the instability created by just trying to balance, and this sort of targets the fibers in the muscles differently. So when we're moving, we're slightly hitting different fibers, and this causes a little bit more DOMS usually when people first start doing this balance, but over time I think it will progress you faster towards the middle splits because it is just shifting around and is hitting different fibers fibers inside the muscle, whereas when you're supported and you're holding on to something, you're not getting that same sensation, or you're not getting that same sort of variation in the muscle fibers being stretched. So you can use a support, and in the beginning you might use a support with this one, but over time you want to try to progress to doing this freestanding and struggling with the balance. The objective here is 3 times 45 to 60 second holds. I'm sort of aiming for maybe 50 seconds at the moment on my 3 sets. I'm just finding that's, offering me a deep stretch, and it gives me the endurance to get 3 sets out. Whereas if I go for 60, I'm not sure how that last set's going to go, but that's where I'm at right now. So those two are supersetted. It's a pretty intense combination on the hip flexor there, getting that hip extension, but I feel that my hip extension is pretty good, and I'm definitely getting into a nice deep sort of front split position there. I've got a long way to go, but this is sort of new territory for me, so I'm enjoying it. Moving on, we go into the B's, which is a prone active Cobra, and this one just burns, like just glutes and back muscles and everything just on fire. It's not like, the Superman exercise we see people doing on the floor where you're just arching the back. You don't get as much of an active contraction here because the feet aren't locked under a solid object. So when I lock the feet under the weights here and I contract those muscles and arch, I can get myself into a deeper range, but I also just get a much stronger contraction in the posterior chain here. It's also not like what we do on the GHD. On a back extension, we typically aim to keep the back pretty flat as we lift up. We're not really overextending like we are here. And the idea of this is to improve the gymnastics bridge. When we're in the gymnastics bridge, we want to actually activate the muscles of the posterior chain. If we can contract those, it's going to help us improve, that arching that we've got in the gymnastics bridge. So that's what we're trying to do here, is just build strength in these muscles and build an awareness of can I activate these? You can do a gymnastics bridge with, the posterior chain muscles slightly active, but are you contracting them? Are you really pulling yourself into that arch position? So with this, it's 3 rounds, and there's three repetitions, and each repetition is a 10-second hold in this active Cobra position. Definitely burns. Give it a try. So here you go. This is being supersetted with the feet elevated gymnastics bridge push-ups. Again, this is continuation of last phase. Last phase, I was really focusing on trying to open the shoulders and use the gymnastics bridge to really sort of stretch out that shoulder flexion position. And it's a great exercise for that. But this time what we're trying to do is we're actually trying to work more on the spinal arching. So just trying to activate those muscles again and extend the arch as much as I can. So not too focused on the shoulder position here. My shoulders are sort of behind my wrists and my knees are bent. But like I said, we're really working on the arching. It's more of maybe a contortionist style of gymnastics bridge than a gymnastic style gymnastics bridge. But obviously this is going to help with both of those variations, and then we can probably go back to holding a strong arch and then trying to open those shoulders again and straighten those legs. We'll see how this progresses, but I definitely feel that I'm getting a lot more out of the back extension, and the sensation here has changed again. So now I'm feeling more of a stretch through my abdominals and feeling more of a stretch through the front of the hips. And I think that's what we want to start to target right now. So I've got 3 sets of 6 to 8 push-ups, and then I'm just doing a 20-second hold at the end of that. So that's my front splits and gymnastics bridge flexibility work for today. And now I move into the gymnastics strength session. Okay, so the second part of my session is the gymnastics strength training. And today I'm trying to work on L-sits pressing to handstand. So it's starting in the L-sit and then coming through, opening up into straddle and then going into the press handstand. In week 1, there was just no chance of this. So what I was doing was trying, and then I was just kicking up and doing the eccentric phase. So going from handstand, eccentric straddle press, bringing the feet together, and then transitioning through to the L-sit. So that's been pretty much weeks 1 to 3. But in week 3, I'm getting closer. And in a few reps, I could sort of see that I wasn't maintaining enough core compression. So the space between the torso and the legs was opening too much. So then I was trying to focus on keeping that closed as much as I can and trying to get the hips as high as I can. And I'm just getting to that little bit of a sticking point where I'm not quite getting the feet high enough where I can actually press to handstand. But it's getting closer. So what I'm still doing is I'm trying the concentric, and then if I don't get the concentric, just do the eccentric and try to get as much control in the eccentric as I can. The eccentric is going to help us build strength. There is tension in the muscle and we're trying to keep that tension in the muscle. So I'm fighting to make sure gravity doesn't take control. I'm not allowed to sort of relax into that sort of gray area where I move really fast through the eccentric, but maintaining that tension is going to help me build the strength. And step by step, I'm getting closer to being able to do that L-sit press to handstand. Yeah, it's not on the floor, it's on P-bars, but they're still pretty low P-bars. The core compression, all the core compression strength and all of the pike flexibility has paid off here. It's giving me both the strength and flexibility to be able to get close to this movement. And now it's just a matter of really building the awareness, understanding the shape I need to be in, and just being able to train that. So fingers crossed, maybe by week 6 I might get this. If not, it's not far away, it's going to happen. So enjoying this one. I'm doing a little bit of stretching between this. I really find that doing some Jefferson curls around the press to handstand just helps to free up the spine. It helps to free up the hamstrings, just increases a little bit of range of motion and makes the press easier. So I typically do 1 or 2 reps of the Jefferson curl, nothing too strenuous, before I went into the press to handstand. That's being supersetted with nothing, okay? So it's just 5 reps. It's 5 sets and just trying, 1 rep each set, a little bit of rest between. So that's just a solo exercise in this program. Then from here, I'm working on a German hang to ring support. Now, in week 1, this was really tricky. Like, I couldn't maintain the false grip in the bottom of the German hang position, or as close as I was getting to the German hang position. So what I did is I actually taped the rings. I taped the rings to the strap so the ring couldn't move, and this was enough to allow me to maintain that false grip and be able to pull out, do the muscle up, and then transition into the ring support. But then in weeks 2 and 3, I haven't taped the rings. I've just been obviously taping my wrists and putting a lot of chalk on there and just trying to work that. And it's been getting better. In week 3, it was my best rep in terms of sinking down deep into the German hang and maybe pausing there for 1 to 2 seconds before I pull out. Previously to that, it was sort of like, I'm losing the false grip, quick pull out, or I'd get into the German hang and I'd just leave it straight away because I would start to slip. And if I can't maintain that false grip, then there's no chance of doing that muscle up transition as we roll out of the German hang and come up into that position. In the first week, my biceps were really sore after this. Like, I couldn't straighten my arms. They were that sore. They were sore for like 4 days. And it's a really strong exercise on the biceps. Like, when we're in that German hang, the bicep is lengthened. Okay, so we're really stretching the bicep, especially because the wrist is flexed, so that the forearm muscles are contracted and the length of straightening the elbow is just really lengthening through the bicep. So it's a big stretch there. And then we're having to shorten the bicep. So we're coming into, that muscle up transition where we're really contracting the bicep nice and hard to be able to get high enough to muscle up over the rings. So I can understand why it was sore, but yeah, I was a bit surprised at how sore it was and how long it was sore for. In the weeks after that, it hasn't been that sore, it's been better. So the body adapts pretty quickly, and even though the range has been increasing and the reps have been getting better, the DOMS hasn't been there, which has been good. It's a fun little exercise, being able to do that little roll and move out of those positions. I don't know how it would go, like being able to be in like a hanging L-sit, pulling all the way through the skin the cat with a false grip, and then being able to pull out to the muscle up. I just got to keep working on my false grip strength. I don't think it's quite there just yet to be able to handle that, but it's definitely getting better. That's meant to be supersetted with a muscle up to forward roll, but I haven't been doing it as a superset. I've just been doing it as a solo exercise because it's just too much frigging around with the rings. Like, I've got to have the rings at a certain height for the German hang position, but then for the muscle up I need to have the rings lower. So I've just been resting a little bit longer and just been doing these as a solo exercise. It'd be nice to be able to have 2 sets of rings and then just be able to slide them backwards and forwards. Maybe something I'll invest in the future. So yeah, the next exercise is muscle up to forward roll. So yeah, just starting in that sort of seated L-sit position and then being able to pull up into the muscle up and the forward roll. I'm pretty fatigued by now. After doing the German hang to ring support, the biceps, and the lats are just like, whew, hello. And then moving into this, it's like, well, have I got enough steam to get over it? I find the muscle up's not too bad. I can typically get through the muscle up, but then just like the pressure of that forward roll. So, a few reps, I'm a little bit piked through the hip. I'm not holding that, nice hollow body shape as I initiate that forward roll. So trying to focus on that. I'm meant to do 5 sets of one repetition, but yeah, I'm probably getting through maybe 3 or 4 sets. And by the 5th one, my shoulders and everything are just sort of smoked. So I might get the muscle up, but then the forward roll's just out of the question. So the endurance might not just be there yet, but I'm obviously working on trying to increase that endurance. And I like this exercise. I like the muscle up and I like the forward roll. It's a skill that I only unlocked in 2022. So it's nice to be able to have this as the C's and just be able to practice this in reality. So it's still feeling pretty good. Enjoying the gymnastic strength session. Excited to see how that L-sit press to handstand goes, and interested to see where the gymnastic skills will go in future blocks. It's been really fun to do a lot more on the gymnastics rings. I find them an amazing tool for building upper body strength and just a lot of fun to train on. It's a lot more exciting in my mind than just doing dips on a dip station or doing bench press. I've done that for years and got a little bit bored of it, but now the gymnastics rings, the opportunities are endless. There's so much we can do in terms of learning new skills, but then also bringing those skills together and doing little ring routines. Even something simple like the muscle up to forward roll or the German hang to ring support. Bringing together a couple of skills. That's what I really enjoy about the gymnastics training. Is it's just like these building blocks where you can just keep unlocking new skills, and it just keeps growing in terms of that repertoire of what you can achieve and what you can do. Typical weight training, what do? We just progress in terms of adding more weight to the bar. So I don't find that too exciting these days. I used to back in my younger days, back in my, sort of 30s when I was just training to get strong. I really enjoyed chasing weight. But these days, I'm a little bit older, maybe a little bit wiser, and enjoy the gymnastic stuff more and just enjoy unlocking those skills. It's a fun session. At the end of my gymnastic sessions, I've been getting back into the ice bath. So now that we're back at home, we've got this little chest freezer that I like to use for the ice bath, and I'm just jumping in for sort of 1 to 2 minutes. 3, maybe 4 times a week as part of the recovery process. I used to do this, sort of once a week with a group of friends. We used to come and do a bit of Wim Hof breathing and then jump in the ice bath for 3 to 5 minutes each. So it's been a while since I've been doing that, but happy to be back into the ice bath now. I also have a sauna that I use regularly too, so that's all part of the recovery process to keep me on track with my gymnastics goals. Anyway, that's about it for today. Nice short one. Training's going well. I hope your training's going well. If you've got any questions or comments on my training, feel free to leave them below. If you are an adult gymnastics skill seeker looking to build strength, increase flexibility, and unlock gymnastic skills that you never thought possible, you're going to want to check out the Sustainable Training Method website. I'll leave a link below. We offer online personal training to help you work towards your individualized goals, but we also offer downloadable skill-based programs. At the moment, we've got a Building Bodyweight Strength series. We've also got a Skin the Cat program on the gymnastics rings, and there's also a free core compression and forward fold flexibility program that you can download. So if that's something you're interested in, head over to the website, TSTmethod.com, and check out those skill-based programs. In the future, I will be releasing more programs. It's just finding the time between working with my online clients and being able to, build all this stuff with the video library and the ebook and everything that comes along with those programs. But yeah, if you haven't seen the video library, check it out. Obviously, you're on the YouTube channel. I'm always adding more stuff as I'm learning and starting to piece together my own method of how I would take clients towards certain goals. I'm lucky to have, online clients that are happy to be my guinea pigs. I'm working with them all the time, helping them unlock the skills that they're trying to work towards. And it's always nice to be able to problem solve and get an idea of what works and what doesn't work. Anyway, until next time, thank you for watching and happy training.